Hello and a very warm welcome to another edition of Talking Germany, the show where we do just that. And my guest today is interesting for many different reasons, and here are two to begin with. He's a filmmaker whose movies I can only recommend. They range from his 1987 classic Out of Rosenheim, also known as Baghdad Cafe, to his current offering, which is called Mahler on the Couch. Now, he's also a member of the dynasty behind one of Germany's, indeed Europe's, most famous hotels. That's the Adlon Hotel here in the heart of Berlin. And here he is in person, Percy Adlon. Thanks very much for joining us today. It's a great pleasure. I want to start with this. I've heard you yourself describing yourself as an old-fashioned filmmaker, but very proud of that. Has that got something to do with this tradition in Germany of what they call here in Germany the Autorenfilm, which uses it's a German word, the author film, yeah?
But the Autorenfilm, the film of the authors,
yeah,
for me still is something very progressive.
Very progressive.
And nothing traditional. So traditional, no. Traditional I wouldn't like for me or for my work. The film of the authors or the writers, we call ourselves filmmakers.
Yeah.
What is it?
Yeah.
It is you invent something or you find a story. You write the story. You produce it. Yeah. You try to find the money. You direct it. And you're involved in every single step of filmmaking. Do it yourself. And together with my wife and my son, it's a mom and pop operation. You know, it always was small. Mm-hmm. Because when you stay small, you have the say about what you're doing. As soon as you get into a bigger situation, you're just, a little wheel in a huge machine. And this also can be great and you can be very successful, but I was never interested in that.
This all sounds a little bit, it sounds very European to me, and that's a little bit ironic because you live just around the corner from Hollywood.
Yes, but I have many friends in Los Angeles who are independent filmmakers. The difference between me and them is that I can get, not easily, it's hard, but I can get money in my own country from television, from our film supporting system, from distributors, while they mostly have to go to some grandma or something and get her credit card and start with $5,000 or even less. It's very, very hard to make independent films in America, and I'm I'm very impressed if they're successful in that.
What a wonderful place you live in.
You would not think that this is Los Angeles, right? No. You would think it's Elba.
You've got the ocean, yeah, and you've got the mountains right behind you, yeah,
and the desert.
And the desert. Yeah?
Yes, I love the desert.
Wonderful, Percy. You were just telling me why you created the name of the main figure in Baghdad Cafe.
Oh, Jasmin Münchstettner. Well, for this lady, the first name Jasmin is already something, but Münchstettner I created because this Bavarian name is so hard to pronounce, so that the other woman, the black woman, when she tries it and says monk, and then she says monk monster, something like that.
It's interesting, isn't it, it's a movie about a Bavarian who goes to the US.
Yeah.
Yeah? That's what happened to you. Yeah? Is that an irony of the story? Did you know that was going to happen to you when you were writing?
No, I didn't. But, irony, humor, and so on is everywhere. What I like when I make films is you start with something real. A real story. It could happen to real people. But then you blow in the air of poetry. And then this little balloon lifts up and lifts you up. And this is what I like in filmmaking, that there is something that is different to reality. It's storytelling, it's light. It could be like that. It doesn't have to be like that. This is, it gives you some hope.
Magical.
It gives you something magical and gives you some hope that life is not just the regular daily humdrum,
Wonderful. You've gone off to the US. You've gone off to Los Angeles, which is the city of Hollywood. You've become a real insider. You have voting rights on the Academy that votes for the Oscar.
Yes.
Who better to ask how good is German filmmaking these days? What standing does German filmmaking have?
Oh, Germany has a pretty good standing at the moment, I would say. I mean, all our countries could never, ever become Hollywood. And whenever they try to do this European thing, put together European stars and European whatever languages, mostly it's just a fake. It's fake Hollywood, and it's still too small, you know, to match the big Hollywood blockbuster. It's two totally different ball games, and it's much better that the French make French films, the German make German films with their problems, and keep their personality, than to spread it out and become something like a European mishmash.
For you, in your career so far, documentary filmmaking, I mean, we've mentioned Baghdad Cafe, which has been an outstanding success, but actually, I have the sneaking suspicion that documentary filmmaking is your real passion.
Well, if you look at Baghdad Cafe, this could be a documentary. True. I could have followed this woman and followed her into this cafe and so on and so forth. It could have been a lovely documentary, but yes, you're right. My origins are from documentary filmmaking about, you know, Tommy Ungerer, or about the big sphere that stood between the World Trade Center towers when they came down, and this was the only human-made piece that survived. I don't know how many people know that. I made a film about that.
The name
because Königs Sphere. The sculptor is the German sculptor Fritz König, whom I'm friendly with since 20 years, and this story. And well, there are many about the Israeli Sami Molcho, who is teaching in Vienna pantomime, and I was with him in the 70s in Jerusalem and so on and so forth. It's a great. It's great, especially when you do camera yourself. I did that for 10 years. You know, when these cameras came out that had television quality.
What sources did you use for that story there?
Well, we used biographies, we used letters, we used the expression of the music that Mahler wrote at that time, because this tells more than any words. And we used it in a very unusual way. We asked the maestro conductor Esa-Pekka Salonen, whom I'm friendly with, and made a documentary about him, to take it apart. In other words, to take apart the score with all the instruments and give me single instruments. And so this is what you never hear when you are in a concert. But for us, it became a bag full of interesting moments that we used throughout the film. We used the full score also. But this was something that worked very, very well, and is very exciting when you watch the movie.
And just tell me, so that's the music, that's the Mahler music. Tell me, so the story is Mahler and his wife, they had been together for 7 or 8 or 9
years.
For 9 years. Yeah.
Then
she gets the letter that we see there in the footage. And that's from Gropius, the architect.
That's from Gropius, the architect, who was 26 years old. They fell in love because Alma was together with this genius, but this genius exhausted himself in music. And in bed, there was not very much. And this is what needed Alma, because she was a very, very passionate,
this is what really
woman.
Fascinates you about the story, isn't it? This is the contemporary relevance. The woman, Alma Mahler, who wanted to live a multi-dimensional life.
Absolutely, absolutely. She wanted to be free of all these restrictions. She was a very, very progressive woman, like my mother. You know, I really take that from my mother. You know, the way she was. I mean, she was not married to my father. She wanted to be free. She wanted to, but she wanted to have this son that I was. She wanted to call him Parsifal, you know, after the Wagner opera, and the character.
Your original name was Parsifal, and you changed it. Yeah?
Parsifal. Yes.
Just tell me a little bit more about your mother. Why you describe her as progressive? That's fascinating.
My mother came from this famous hotel family, and she could have been. She was the most intelligent one of the kids that my grandfather had, and she could have taken over the hotel, but she lived in the country in Bavaria and bred Ostfriesische sheep, you know. She was very different. She didn't like the world of luxury and so on and so forth, but obviously she liked the world of opera because she fell in love with an opera singer in New York City. And see, there's something in my genes that is already American, because they were lovers for 2 seasons at the Met. He had 2 5-year contracts at the Met when he was together with my mother.
Well, talking of the stories, Percy Adlon, filmmaker, when the hotel was being rebuilt, at around the same time, you made a movie called The Glamorous World of the Hotel Adlon. What were you trying to achieve with that movie?
I tried to avoid, or tried them to avoid, to do just an ad for the Adlon. I wanted to tell about my family and about the world, the culture, the Berlin history, the music of the 20s and all that. This is what interested me. And also what interested me was that I come in with my Percy Adlon name that I had built as a filmmaker and not become Mr. Adlon, Hotel Adlon, or Mr. Hilton or whatever, you know, or Mr. Kempinski. I wanted to keep my own Adlon name intact, so to say, and it really worked well because everybody loves this small film.
I'm told that it's available to all the hotel guests, yeah, in the hotel.
Oh yeah. It's out on DVD and it's sold in the hotel, but it is available to them in their rooms.
They can just click on
it. Shows it yes, for 24 hours. Wonderful. In German and in English since 13 years.
But listen, you're making it sound very glamorous and very wonderful, but you have said yourself that one thing about families that's very interesting is that they all have a skeleton in the cupboard.
Absolutely, absolutely.
What was the skeleton in the cupboard about the Adlon clan?
The skeleton in the cupboard was that the 5 children of the Adlon couple, my grandmother and Louis Adlon, you know, the second owner of the hotel, all these kids were either not interested in the hotel or not very successful people. In other words, they were all flops.
It was a breakdown.
Right. So, I mean, this was kind of the tragedy that they had 4 sons and none of them was able to do anything at that place. You know, but then, and also, you know, my great-grandfather led it through until First World War, and then came 2 world wars, and in 1945 it burnt down and it was over. Oh.
Percy Adlon, what do you make of all that?
Well, I was at the Oktoberfest every year when we lived in Munich.
Oh, really?
It's fun and, you know, it's good, you know, the steckel fish, the roasted fish and stuff, it's good beer. But this kind of world is not my Bavaria. My Bavaria is the Lake of Starnberg and these old farmhouses. And Munich was its very, you know, gentle, beautiful tone. Also the Munich, the language, the Bavarian language in Munich is a little, you know, lighter, as you know, in the countryside. I love where I'm from, and I have a very strong connection to it. And you know, that I no longer live there has nothing to do with that I no longer like it. It's that I would recommend everybody, if they can afford it, and if their life you can arrange it, to just change your life once in your lifetime and go somewhere else, another continent, another language, other people, other air. You know, it opens up your whole box, and also for your body. It's good for me to live somewhere else and have this kind of transfusion, blood transfusion, you know, from somewhere else.
Wonderful. You are clearly thriving on that too. Here's a question I'd like to ask you. Which Bavaria is a very big state within Germany.
Yeah.
When you drive across Bavaria, it takes you quite a long while. Which state in the US would you compare Bavaria to?
Oh, California, maybe?
California, yeah?
I don't know. I don't know if this can be compared.
Are you going to go back to Bavaria ever at any stage? Live there, or is it,
Yeah, very often, very often. Yeah, we stay in Munich and we have friends in the country. Well, we like to walk the country and we like to eat Bavarian food. Okay. Not too often, you know, not too often. But I need my Weißwurst and my Leberkäse and my Schweinsbraten.
Okay. Quiz time at the end of the show.
Okay.
Quick questions, yeah? Okay. Opposites. Bavaria or California? You've named the two. Mountains or ocean?
Mountains.
Cafes or diners?
Cafes.
Hotels or motels? Both. German filmmaking, world class or provincial? Tough question.
I pass on that.
He passes on the question. He's been a good guest. Percy Adlon, the filmmaker. If you've enjoyed his company as much as I have, come back next week. Tschüss. Until then, bye-bye. Thank you.